I'm Dr. Ariel Palanca, and you're watching The Step. Hi, Chyrstyn. Welcome to The Step.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you. So serendipitously, you've actually been in San Diego for the last couple of weeks. Is that correct?
I have been. Yeah, I've been teaching some ballet lessons in the area. So it's been really great. And I've been yelling a lot at some students. And so my voice is a little raspy today.
Well, like I told you before, I have a raspy voice, so we're going to balance each other out perfectly. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you're hailing from Boston, though. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I live in Boston.
And tell us what you do in Boston.
I am a principal ballerina with Boston Ballet.
That's not completely awesome at all. How long have you been doing that?
So I've been dancing my whole life. For almost 30 years, I've been taking some sort of ballet lesson. But I've been with Boston Ballet for 8 years.
For 8 years?
Yes.
And what got you into ballet?
My parents are dancers. So my mom was a ballet dancer. I would always follow her around. I would watch her perform. I'd always be in the wings trying to learn all the steps that she was doing. And of course, I wanted to be just like her. So
that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What age did you start dancing?
I was put in my first classes when I was about 3 years old. So I don't know if that really counts as dancing. More like skipping around and having fun and keeping busy.
Did you leap carpets? That's what I did when I was a ballerina. I leapt carpets. So, okay.
Yeah. So I was about 3 years old when I started.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. And when did you know it was going to be like your passion? When did you know it was going to be your career?
Yeah. I mean, because I was at the studio for most of my life, I kind of got bored of it because it was like my everyday. So I quit dancing for a couple of years when I was in high school. And I think it was when I found my way back into dancing after that, when I really missed it. That's when I started to understand that it was something that I wanted to pursue as a career. And then I spent my first summer in New York when I was 18. And that was like really when it solidified it for me. It was getting up in the morning, going home exhausted, like pushing myself, having to feed myself at the end of the day, and understanding that ballet is this thing that it's like a constant pursuit of something. I don't know. And I fell in love with the work. So
you were working so hard and yet you still wanted to wake up every morning and keep doing it.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
And you've had some injuries, and that's something that we're going to be focusing on talking about today. Yeah. And you've actually had 3 different foot surgeries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Could you describe those for us?
Yeah. So the very first surgery that I had, something weird was happening inside of my Pointe shoes. My big toe started to tingle a little bit. I didn't really know what was happening. It started getting more and more numb. Turns out after some imaging that I had a benign mass in my foot that was pressing against a nerve in the arch of my foot. And so that was my first surgery, was to have that removed. Okay. It has since grown back, but it's not affecting my dancing, so it's fine.
So we're not planning on doing anything with that?
Nothing with that, okay. No. And then the other 2, I had tendinitis in my FHL, so the back of my ankle I felt like was getting junky. Something felt weird, and it was kind of hurting to be where my toes would flex backwards. Mm-hmm. Not when I was on point with my toes pointed, but when I was like what we call demi-point. So it's when your heels are just lifted off the floor, not all the way up on your toes.
Kind of a partial on point, just for
us
like
when your toes
are
flexed, when your toes are flexed up. So like if you were to go on like without point shoes on your tippy toes, if you will, it's that kind of position. So when I was like fully stretched there, that's when I was in pain. And I had surgery to clean out my FHL tendon on both sides. A couple years apart.
Okay. Yeah. And just for some of our non-medical listeners, so FHL is your flexor hallucis longus tendon, and that is a tendon that actually bends your big toes on both sides. So it runs on the inside of your ankle and it terminates on the big toes. And obviously as dancers, that's something that they use quite frequently, and it can be very prone to having tendinitis or just inflammation of the tendon itself. So you had the 2 surgeries a couple years apart. How did it come to that point where you realized that this might be a surgical problem?
Yeah, that was kind of a journey for me because as dancers, we're kind of used to being in some level of pain. I mean, we're like literally holding our weight on our toes for a living. And so, it's always kind of uncomfortable. And it took me a while to distinguish between like something that was a little bit more serious pain and something that was just like, oh, I need to have my ankle mobed, or, oh, I need to just CPT and do some more exercises and stuff like that. It got to a point where I was in so much pain that I felt like I wasn't able to dance my best. I wasn't able to push myself because I was constantly distracted by what I was feeling in my feet. And so I started having more discussions with our physical therapy team, started talking to the doctors that we have that are in a relationship with the company, and trying to take it a little bit more seriously and pursue and figure out what was going on in there.
Yeah. Talk to me about the relationship with the physical therapist and your ballet team.
Yeah. So we have 2 physical therapists that work full time. They are there all day while we are rehearsing. So if someone gets injured in the studio, there's already somebody there, which is really convenient for us. And then we have like our slots that we can sign up for, and we can work with them. They can help us build our strength. They can help us, continue to maintain our facility and make sure that we're getting stronger. But they can also help us like figure out our injuries and navigate that. They have a relationship with a hospital in Boston. We work really closely with Boston Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And so a lot of our doctors come from there. We'll have people come in and visit us once a week from the hospital.
So the doctors come to visit
Correct.
once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is really great because if you have something that you're wondering if it's more serious, if you need to pursue something, there's somebody that you can check in with before having to go outside of the building. So yeah.
Okay. So talking about the first time, so was it your left or your right side that was first? Do you remember?
It was my left side
It
first.
doesn't really matter, but that will give me reference. Okay, so your left side. So when you're getting to the point and you're talking to your therapist and you're like, I think this is something wrong that maybe can't be solved just by rest or just by physical therapy. What were the next steps that were taken?
We did some imaging to see exactly what was happening inside of my foot.
Okay, what kind of imaging?
I had an MRI done.
Okay.
Of course, I started with X-ray.
Yeah.
But then I had an MRI done, and that was our like main teller of what was going on inside of there. So I had the imaging done and went to go talk to who ended up being my surgeon to see what he thought. The first hospital that I had my surgery done was through the Harkness Center for Dance Injuries. That's based out of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they are familiar with dancer bodies. And so I spoke to the surgeon. He told me, oh, this is something I've seen before. And then we just kind of tested it out to see like what things we could do before surgery if I could alleviate pain otherwise through exercise or through some other like manual work. And when it didn't get better, then yeah.
So he still offered some non-operative treatment, even with the MRI, before kind of pursuing operative management.
Yeah, and I prefer it that way actually because I think it's much better if you can figure out how to get around it without having to have surgery.
Sure.
Why not?
Absolutely.
But it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So.
And at any point did you feel the need to pursue a second opinion?
I didn't because I really trusted the people that I was working with. So when I'm working with doctors that are familiar with dancer bodies, it makes me feel so much more confident that they understand exactly what I need to get back to. So there was never like the fear that I wasn't going to be able to use my plie or bend my ankle all the way back. I wasn't going to have like limited mobility in my toe or anything like that because they knew exactly what my body needed to do. So I really trusted them.
They knew what level of activity and expectations that you needed to get back to.
Correct.
Understood. What was the whole process? So after surgery, what was your recovery course?
Yeah, I was in a boot for a couple of weeks. I was non-weight bearing for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. And then I was able to start slowly doing a little bit more weight on my foot with crutches and whatnot. Eventually, I was able to walk inside the boot. And then I started seeing a physical therapist off-site so that I could rehab my body back to strength. Started with trying to get my mobility back. It took the longest for me to get my plie again back, which is when I'm bending my knees and my feet are flat on the floor. Getting that part of my mobility back took the longest. But we started.
When approximately do you think that came back?
Oh, goodness. I would say, so let's say my surgery was mid-May.
Okay.
And I think I had my full plie back maybe by the end of June.
Okay.
So kind of quick, but also for me, it just felt like it was forever.
Took forever.
Yeah.
As athletes, you guys usually want to get back pretty darn quick.
Correct.
So.
I mean, it's like the only thing I've spent my whole life doing it,
Yeah,
it's part
absolutely.
of my identity. Yeah.
And then after you got your plie back, how long from surgery were you back to full time, back to yourself dancing?
Yeah. I mean, I had the perfect timeline after this first surgery. My surgery was mid-May and I joined Boston Ballet August 14th. So I was fully dancing. I was ready to perform. I was ready to rehearse by August 14th.
Oh, that was great. So it worked out perfectly.
It did. Yeah, perfect timing.
Yep. And it was my understanding that you had a sort of a different experience with the right side that you had a couple years later.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So funny enough, I had the other surgery just one day different. So let's say I did May 18th and then my next surgery was on May 19th, but a couple of years later. So I had this direct timeline that I was comparing myself to, but our bodies change and recovery is different. I think for every injury, recovery just
Absolutely
is different. And I, again, was like, not really sure what's going on with my ankle. It's a feeling that I'm familiar with, but I don't know, it feels kind of different. So again, we started to like pursue imaging and try to figure out what's happening in there. I was going to wait until the end of our season to kind of take something more serious, to pursue something more serious. But this was the year of the pandemic. And I was on stage getting ready for a performance, and we were doing our dress rehearsal, and I was miserable. I would go off stage in between my entrances, and I would like cry in the wings because adrenaline wasn't taking the pain away, which sometimes when you're hurting as a dancer, you can like get excited from performance and you forget that you're hurting. And I was miserable. And then we got called on stage after rehearsal, and we were told to pack up our things and go home. And in some ways, I like exhaled this sigh of relief because I just couldn't do it. I was so scared to try to push through the rest of the season. I was just in so much pain. So I got to rest. And, naturally, I was just at home and was able to kind of ice and do my exercises and do all of these things, but I was still waking up in the morning and feeling this pain when I was walking around the house. And so that's when I knew that I had to take a more serious step. And I ended up pursuing surgery again. Yeah.
So you did the period of rest and you were still having the daily pain, and that was really your trigger to know that something else needed to be done.
Yeah. And then unfortunately, as I was rehabbing, it just took a little bit longer that time. And so it was really frustrating for me because I was taking the exact same steps, and I'd be like, oh, by this date, I was already doing ballet class, or by this date, I was already walking, and things were a little bit slower that time. But ultimately, I'm kind of happy that it went slower because I think that side came back stronger.
Okay. That's really interesting. Yeah. As a surgeon, when we do bilateral surgery, honestly, one of the hardest things is when my patient tells me that their first side was a breeze, even if I was a surgeon for the first side, because people are older, bodies change, bodies are asymmetrical, and it doesn't mean that you're going to have the same recovery course of one side versus the other. So if someone says that the first side was just easy peasy, that's well, it doesn't mean that you're going to have the exact same recovery course on the other side.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got through that mentally. Like, I can only imagine if you're comparing these side to side and this is your career, this is your livelihood. There must have been a point where you're like, well, am I going to get better? Is this going to fully recover? How did you get through that mentally?
Yeah, it was really hard. I think every injury kind of comes with that. Is it ever going to feel like it felt before? How am I going to do this? I have a really great group of people that I work with that encouraged me to trust that my body was going to get there. They allowed me to focus on the little wins that I was having along the journey. And I think also having the space to like not fully be in the studio gave me like the mental health to like take my time and do exactly what I needed at home without the pressure of like feeling like I needed to get on stage really soon. So ultimately, it was just trusting my body, trusting my team, and just really believing that every step is like gonna get me a little bit closer. And it's trust. It was trust. It was hard though.
I could only imagine.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have like quite the supportive team.
Yeah.
Is that true like throughout ballet? Because it sounds like you guys it's just so exacting that there might be times where you don't listen to your bodies and you don't take the time to receive the treatment that you need because you are pushing to that next step. How is that culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, Boston Ballet we have a really wonderful team. And so, but no, I don't think that that's something that you see across the board. And especially because I think ballet dancers, we start so young generally. You don't really learn that, like, you don't always learn right when you need to like speak to somebody and like find help and figure out what pain is worth pushing through and what pain isn't. Sometimes you just don't have access to a team, you know? So there are some companies that they're smaller, they're part-time jobs for dancers, and they don't have like healthcare, or, you know, they have to to work a second job, and so they don't have the time to pursue treatment.
Yeah.
So no, it's not across the board that people have access to people that understand your body, that people know how dancers' bodies work, etc.
Yeah, no, that's a great lead in, because for a question I was going to ask you, what would you want doctors, we have physicians and surgeons that are going to be listening to this podcast, what would you want doctors to know specifically about ballerinas as patients? Like, what, as you specifically, that we could treat you better and understand better?
Well, we are stubborn as anything you can think of. We are such stubborn people, and we have to be, because, you know, every day we are looking at ourselves, looking for what we can fix, all of like nitpicking and whatever, and we're going to push ourselves to our limits. And so I think it's important to understand that sometimes when someone says it hurts a little, dancers, it actually means probably hurts a little bit more than what they're saying. And they just want to make sure that they're getting back on stage. They don't want to miss opportunities. The FOMO, if you will, is very real with dancers.
Okay.
And so I think it's important to like really understand how much mobility dancers need to have, specifically, like, you know, in our feet. It's everything. If you're wearing pointe shoes, it's everything. So you have to understand exactly like how much articulation we need to have in our feet, in our joints, in our tendons, in our muscles, how strong we need to be before we can get back into dancing, and know that dancers are going to rush themselves back. We're always going to try to push and get back as fast as we can, but we need someone to sometimes pump the brakes and be like, hey, we'll get there, but you have to trust me. And so I think it's being really clear and really listening to.
Yeah, so we as surgeons, we talk about this in our community, that there are the patients that we need to give a little push, and there are patients that we need to rein in a little bit. So you're giving me that the ballerinas are the ones that we may need to pull on the reins just a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, if you're coming to our office and telling us that you have a little bit of pain, there's a reason that you're in our office, and
Correct.
you probably have more than a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
Sounds to me that you exist just at a baseline of it, a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
Just in
Again,
general.
we stand on our toes for a living. So
No, that's really clarifying. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Now, you've also kind of just had a recent injury that I'd like to talk about a little bit too, because we deal with this a lot.
yeah.
Turf toe, is that correct?
Oh, it's so annoying.
It is so annoying. It's annoying for us too, because it's a really hard injury to treat.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me more about that?
Yeah, so in one of our last performances this season, I was doing a solo on stage, and I was standing on one toe. I was in what we call arabesque. So my leg was behind me, and I was trying to balance, and I was trying to roll down
I'm thinking flamingo. Am I right?
So the leg is extended behind you. It's
Okay.
not bent.
Okay.
So a little bit longer.
Understood. Okay.
Yes. So we're trying to create a long line. And so I was trying to balance on pointe. And in pointe shoes, the goal is always to go through your demi pointe, or like, so you're coming from the very tip of your toe, and then you're trying to like flex your toes down and then softly descend to the floor before your heel touches the floor. So that's what we call rolling off of pointe. So as I was rolling off of pointe, something went just a little pop, and it was instant, like, fire in my foot. And I was in the middle of this solo just trying to distract myself. Like, if I stay on pointe longer, then I don't have to feel the pain. So I was trying to balance to avoid the pain. But yeah, and I didn't know what it was. I kept dancing on it. I was in a lot of pain. And so I think I kind of pushed out my recovery a little bit because I was pushing through an injury.
Sure.
But yeah, the recovery has been slow for that, because even going to the gym was hard. You know, it hurt to walk because I was flexing my toe up. So
What have they been doing, the therapists, with you to treat it?
I had a PRP done not too long ago, because it wasn't really getting better after a certain point. And so we tried that. And now it's doing better. But we were taping my toe with kinesio tape to keep my big toe kind of in alignment, because it started to push inward, kind of in the bunion position. And so we were trying to pull my toe outward. We were trying to keep it from flexing up as much. So I was giving it just a little bit more support. Initially, it was icing. We were treating it with like a red light laser or something like that. And a lot of manual work. And but the PRP, I think, has kind of helped progress the healing a little bit faster.
Great.
I mean, it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt so bad.
That could be a very painful injection. Again, for our listeners, PRP is platelet-rich plasma. So it's a procedure where we take blood from your veins, and it's centrifuged. So it's spun down, And then we actually take the top layer of plasma that's rich in these platelets that are thought to be like really good healing signalers and molecules. And then that's injected into some injured part of your body. So it could be the Achilles tendon. It could be, for turf toe, it's an injury to the plantar plate of your great toe. A really stubborn injury. We see it in football players, soccer players, ballerinas. Stubborn injury can take months upon months to heal. Usually mobilization, taping, PRP injections. So sounds like that what you had, but it sounds like we're on a slow but on a road to recovery.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're on the road, yeah. But I will say that PRP was really cool to watch. That was really fun to watch them like spin everything around and suck it out and put it back in my foot. I was like, that's cool.
As a fun question, what's your favorite ballet move?
Oh, my favorite ballet move?
Yes.
I really love jumping.
Okay.
It's the closest I can get to flying. And so I have strong legs. So I try to out jump all of the guys in the company. But I really love to try to like jump as high as I can, try to like see if I can get hang time in the air and just challenge myself to get even higher every time.
I'm going to come to Boston and watch you dance.
Please do.
Yes, this is so cool. It sounds to me that foot health and strength and rehab, prehab care, I don't know what you want to call it, is of utmost importance as a ballerina. You have to have like a system, a routine. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, I mean, our days are really long as it is. We have to be strong. We have to eat well. We have to make sure we're keeping up our muscle strength. Otherwise, we won't make it to the performance. For like a normal day, just to give you an overview, I rehearse. We still have our ballet class starts at 9:45. We have an hour and a half class, and then we rehearse until 6:30. That's Monday through Saturday. And if we're performing, we start at 10:30, and then we go until the performance ends, which is like 10:30, and that's Tuesday through Sunday. And so we have really long days, and it's really important for us to make sure that our muscles are strong because it's really easy to get weak. Like I feel like when you're exhausted, it's really easy for injuries to happen. So you have to make sure that you're strengthening things all of the time. Ankle strength, calf strength, leg strength, all of it is so important. We have to cross train, whether it's Pilates or we have Pilates reformers in our physical therapy room and stuff like that. But doing exercises, TheraBanding, I'm constantly trying to keep myself strong. I'm constantly doing ankle strengthening exercises. The goal is always to do 30 heel raises on one side, which is a lot. If you're going all the way up, it starts to burn. But the goal is to always maintain that level of strength always.
Okay. And then for like ankle strengthening specifically, do you have any specific exercises that you do other than your calf raises or just, yep.
Yeah. So I think in calf raises is like fine to do in your bare feet. I also do them in pointe shoes. I'll do weighted raises. So I'll be sitting down, I'll have a weight on top of my knee and I'll do my calf raises that way. So I have extra weight. There are some machines at the gym that can kind of recreate that too. But I do a lot of TheraBand work. So it's just different kind of exercise with my TheraBand. We call alphabet. So you're like making the alphabet with your ankle and those things.
We tell our patients to do that.
We do piano toes, which is like lifting up one toe at a time and putting it back down to kind of work on that individual toe strength. And just making sure like all parts of your feet are strong. So you can do towel curls. So like I'll put my foot down on a towel and I'll arch my foot up to scrunch it up as close to my foot as I can. That strengthens the bottom of my foot. All these different like tiny exercises that can feel very boring, but are so worth it.
They're so worth it. And then what about just the routine of getting into your shoe? I worked with the San Jose Ballet for just a little bit, but it just seemed like everyone had their own individual ritual, but it was a production and a ritual. Do you have like a specific routine that you do to get into your ballet shoes or your pointe shoes that what works for you and it's individual for you? Yeah,
I think if it was my preference, I would start my day in a pair of socks because I can feel my feet against the floor. I can warm up the bottom of my feet better, in my opinion. Then I switch to soft ballet shoes and I'll do a little bit of ballet bar. And then by the time I get to the end of my ballet bar, when people are like swinging their legs really high, then I'll switch to my pointe shoes. Every ballet dancer has a different thing that they do inside of their pointe shoes to pad their toes, whether it's like taping their toes or they put lamb's wool inside of their shoe. There are like different kinds of toe pads. I wear a kind of toe pad that's actually a mold. So I mesh this mold together, I put it on my toes, and then I put my foot inside of the Pointe shoe, and it creates the shape of my foot. I have really tapered toes. My pinky toes are very little.
Okay.
So it's easy for me to sink down in my Pointe shoes because my toes are so little. And so these toe pads, they fill in the space between my pinky toe and the floor, so I don't sink down as much. But because I'm wearing a mold as it's hardening, I'm able to kind of make it as thin as possible. So I wiggle my toes around a lot in the shoes as it's forming to my foot, and I wear those toe pads every day inside of my shoes.
Okay, so definitely a routine.
Yeah,
And you probably sure a little bit of trial and error to find out what works for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just in case there's some young ballerinas out there that happen to be listening as we're wrapping up, what would you have to say to kind of the future ballerinas of the world? Any words of advice or wisdom or encouragement?
Yeah, I think loving yourself through everything, through every part of your career, whether it's you're dealing with injury or you're trying to get a job and you're having a hard time finding a company to take you, or you're just kind of feeling a little insecure, you have to love yourself through every part of your art form, every part of your art. And remind yourself what makes it good for you, like what you are good at, why you love to do it. Listen to the music and just feel it in your heart. But also listen to your bodies. I feel like I've learned over the year, if I'm craving certain kinds of foods, it means I'm lacking something in my diet.
Yes.
If I'm craving red meat, I'm lacking something. Or if I'm craving a salad, it always means something. Really listening to everything your body is telling you, and that includes when things start to hurt, and making sure that you aren't afraid to say, hey, I got to take it easy. You don't have to push yourself, because ballet's still going to be there on the other side.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a day. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to take some time off too.
That was awesome.
Oh,
and
thanks.
You are awesome. Thank you so much. I have learned so much today, honestly
thank
and truly.
you.
It's been such a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. And to our viewers and our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to the next time. See you on the step.